Hello everyone, George here, and we're back again with my implementation of Toejam and Earl in VR. It's a new day for me, and then the next day. And what we did last was we copied over our different settings and we set up our body. And now we actually need to test all this stuff out. Luckily, I happen to have my VR headset all set up, I think. I'm not 100% sure on this one, but that's all set up. Controllers are active. The sensors look like they are good to go. And the headset, well, it has a red light on it, which may or may not be a good thing. So come over here really fast, and it does not look like Steam VR is showing up here. So let's try this again. So VR, but just Steam. And why is VR not showing up? Okay, so that should fix it. So that should fix everything. It turns out that I didn't have the USB plug plugged in. So let's go ahead now and see if Steam VR will pop up. Yes, it does. Great. Go ahead and launch that. Let's go to edit, and we're going to go to project. Whoops. All right. There we go. Okay, dismiss. Let's see, let's see really quick here. Make sure this is actually working. So we've got a headset. Come on, go away. I very much hate the HTC Vive experience. Okay, there we go. Now let's turn on the controllers. All right, controllers are good. Everything looks good. So let's go ahead and activate VR. So let's go over to project settings. Actually, we want player, don't we? So let's go to build settings, player settings, XR settings, virtual reality supported. We're going to turn Oculus off and use OpenVR. And I'm not going to change anything else. That's all good. So that's all we really need for that bit. Now, the next thing is to actually run this and see what the heck happens. So let's give it a go. Okay, so the headset does appear to be working. So popping this on real fast. Let's see. There we are. There's our world. Now, what about my controllers? There is definitely an offset we need to deal with. They are not in the right place, but the controllers are actively taking in the position information and appear to be working. So that's all good. So now we just need to add a character controller and start moving around our environment. Put all that stuff down. Let's stop this really quick and let's start thinking. Okay, so first of all, there was an offset with some of this stuff. So if we hit F to frame up, now that's 0, 0, 0. Now what about the cube is definitely not 0, 0, 0. So let's go ahead and reset all that. And then this is not either. So that should fix that issue. Now we need the character controller. So let's go ahead and go to add component, character controller. Let's see here. Slope limit 45. I don't think there's any reason to change anything. The radius might be a little bit large. I'm going to crank that down to 0.35. Height is 2, which is roughly 6 feet. So that's going to be fine as well. So I think that's all good. Now we actually need to come up with the system for controlling everything. And that's going to require a new class. So let's go ahead and do a C# one. And then we want to do, I don't know, character movement, open that up. And I believe we're going to use the event system that would have been set up inside of Vive input that I created to actually handle this kind of stuff. So what we want is to use, and this is a good question about how you move around in VR. Now, Toejam and Earl is a game where you have to flee away from enemies, in which case I don't want you to be able to instantaneously teleport from location to location, kind of getting out of the way. Therefore, we're going to use the touchpad most likely to move around. And that touchpad stuff is, let's see. So here's the button left trackpad and the button right trackpad events right here that we can subscribe to. Now let's see, this is touching it. So we don't want that, we want to press. So let's just see, trackpad touch, triggers, trigger, right grip, left grip. Okay, so we are definitely going to be working with on button right trackpad press, most likely. Now these events are not static. So which means I'm going to need an instance, which I can do by using the get instance up here. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So let's go over to our character script, move this off to the side so we can reference it, and think about how we want to handle this. Now I'm a little bit fuzzy on exactly how the input works, but we're going to create a function that's going to take in, let's see, it's just a void function. So void handle movement, I suppose, is what we want. And in start, we're going to grab this instance, so Vive input.get instance, and then dot, what do we want? On button left trackpad press. Let's see, down, let's see, we have on left track press, then we have on button down, then we have, we're going to want just press, I think. Plus equals, and then we're going to add our handle movement method to that. Okay, so every time now that we have a press on the left trackpad, it's going to do our movement. Now, just thinking here really quick, do I want it to be the left or do I want it to be the right? And I'm right-handed, so for the moment, we're going to do right. Now, we could make it so it's both hands, and then we'll have to be careful and to normalize the value between the two. We could definitely do that. So let's go to handle movement instead and figure out how we're going to handle that. So the trackpad itself is going to give us what in terms of a value. So we have an event void button left track down track press. We have event button left trackpad press. Now, why don't we should be getting information from this delegate as to how much it's been pressed and in what direction. So we're going to have to modify this Vive input class, because if we come down here, there's going to be a get left trackpad press right here, which is input.get button lcon trackpad press. This information should be passed to us. So what is that actually? What are we getting? So let's go over here and do Vive input unity, and here we go. So we have number 2, which is our trackpad, and scrolling on down, see, left controller trackpad 2 is a press, unity button 8. Do I get a vector 2 out of this? So here's left controller trackpad 2. This is press and this is horizontal movement. Oh, so I am going to want, so there's touch and there's a press. We don't want press. We want press and to know where your location is on it as well. Is that correct? So we want this stuff right here. So left controller trackpad. So let's see, do we even have that? So we have get button left trackpad press, and it returns, let's see, this returns a bool, which is not what we want. So what if we create a couple new methods? So let's comment this and say 5/18, 2019. Added new events to query for press and returns the position pressed on the trackpad used for movement. Or that would be the idea. I guess it doesn't have to be used for movement. So we're going to do a public delegate, and then we want this to be a vector 2, and then button right trackpad, or not button, just right trackpad, and then there should be a public delegate vector 2 left trackpad, and then our events, public event, and then that will be a right trackpad, and then on right trackpad, public event left trackpad, on left trackpad. And we don't need these because they're not methods. Okay, so we've got that. Now I just need these to actually happen, and we should actually probably spell this right. There we go. Let's grab this one, come on down into our method that actually does all this nonsense, which is in here. So what we want to have happen is the button gets pressed. So left trackpad press, input, if input.get key down, this, and then if on right or on left trackpad, I guess, would be this one. Does not equal null. That is, if no one has subscribed to it, then we want to do on left trackpad, and we want to pass a new vector. We want to do a vector 2 in this too, don't we? So we'll do a vector 2 temp is equal to a new vector 2, and that's going to be, we need to grab the input stuff. Do we even have the ability to grab? Well, we should somewhere, right? In here, have the ability to grab where on the trackpad we've actually touched. Do we really not have this? Wow, we do not have this. So let's take a look really fast at this. And Axis 2D, primary thumbstick, left controller trackpad, horizontal movement, vertical movement, horizontal movement. This is Unity Access IDs 1, 2, 4, and 5. So let's go check out our inputs and see whether or not we even have these. So edit, project settings, input. And then we have 5th axis. So we do have these, Archon trackpad vert. So let's just do a quick search, Control F, Control V. So that's just finding it. That's not actually using the value in any way. Oh, get right axis trackpad vert. That we do have them. Okay, great. I'm about to say, I'm pretty stupid of me not to program them in. I'm pretty sure I had that functionality somewhere. Coming back in here, we can use those methods now to create our vector 2. So what was it again? It was get right trackpad vert, but this should be get left trackpad vert. And then we also want to do get trackpad horizontal. So we're going to do, I guess, vertical second, right? Horizontal's first, usually. Get left trackpad horizontal. Now, what are you complaining about? Nothing, right? That's a float and that's a float. So you should be fine. So now we just return temp in that. Now what do you, does not take one argument. The delegate does not take one argument. Let's see here. You are correct. This should be a void, and this should be a vector 2. Axes. Let's call it that. Okay, great. Okay, so that works. Now we can copy this statement and find the right one, so right trackpad press. So in this case, we have input.getKeyDown, getKeyDown, blah, 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 on right trackpad press, this. This is key up, and this is just key. We'll do this here. And then this will be right instead. And we'll change these up. We'll change this up as well. And then on right trackpad. Okay, now coming over here, instead of on button right trackpad press, it should be on right trackpad. And then this is going to now take in a vector 2 and then call these axes. And that should be it for that. Now we just need to make this actually do something. The first thing we're going to do is add our character controller. And let's go ahead and grab that. And we'll do character controller is equal to this.get component and then character controller. Okay, good. Now in handle movement, so you're pressing this button, and I want that to move with reference to where you're actually pointing the controller. I personally like that kind of movement. The idea is the controller goes where you want to, or we could do it based upon where your head is. Either one is valid, and maybe that's an option we put in the game in the future, but for right now, we're just going to do it based upon the controller's direction, which means we're going to need a reference to the controller itself and what direction it's pointed at. In which case, it's probably going to be best and easiest if we create instances of these. So if we do a public static H and R, H and R, it's hand and right, but whatever, instance. And then, I mean, technically you could just grab it from that. I don't really need a getter or a setter, but we do need a void awake. And then we do need a check to do instance is equal to this. And we want to do if instance is equal to null, then we'll do this. Otherwise, we've got a duplicate in the scene or something got brought in from another scene if we have a don't save or load thing going on. So we need to do something along the lines of else. That is, if it wasn't null, we want to do this dot game object dot destroy actually. So let's do destroy this dot game object. That'll get rid of that nonsense. We can copy this, and actually we can copy all of this. Bring this over to hand L, just so it's easy for us to move between the two different hands. Name that properly, and that's all fine. Now we can come over here and character controller. what we want to do is grab handr.transform, whoops, .instance.transform. And what we're going to do is get the forward vector, and we're also going to want to get handr.instance.transform.right vector. And let's just store them away really quick in vector 2s, or vector 3, forward is equal to this, and then vector 3, right is going to be equal to that. Now I believe the character controller has like a dot move, and it has a dot simple move. So I don't really know which one I want to work with. I'm just going to use move for right now. And we're going to move based upon us, the amount in the axis that we're moving. So what we want to do is forward times equals axes dot, and that's the vertical one, which means it's going to be the Y component. And we also want right times equals axes dot x. So that's how much we've pressed, which is a value between -1 and +1, which will then cause right to flip or forward to flip back and forth along the axes. And then we can use those values in move, because the final one should just be forward plus right, which should be our final movement. Okay, fingers crossed that this is actually going to work. Now we do have a problem here. I just realized is that handle movement is only going to get called when we press the button down. It's not going to be continually called, in which case I might want to, I can either store the values over here and continue to have this update happen, or we can change how this entire thing works over here. Now, if anything, I should probably do it over here. In handle movement, this is going to say whether or not it's been pushed down or pushed up. So what we could do is do a start movement method and then an end movement method. Dot on. Let's do on button trackpad, on button right trackpad. Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about this, what I did was, that didn't make a whole lot of sense, did it? On button right trackpad press. So we want on right trackpad, on button up, and on button down is really what we want. So this function actually doesn't help us at all. So we want on button right trackpad down. And then we'll do this. Yeah, what I did doesn't make any sense. So kind of disregard that. I mean, it's fine, excuse me, it's how you can set something up. It's just not what we want. So what we want to do is void end movement. Now, there's a number of ways we can do this. We could query this as well. This is just, I mean, this is kind of a dumb way to do it. I really don't need an event system if I think about it. I could just go to an update. Oh, you know what? No, this is a good way of doing it. This is fine. So we're just going to make a bool value. Bool is moving is equal to false, and then we're going to do something cheap. We're just going to do this. Is moving is equal to true, and then is moving is equal to false, and then in update we're just going to do if is moving. And then we're going to grab all this crap right here, paste that in there, and that's pretty much it. So all we're doing now is we're grabbing whether or not we're moving. These don't require that, so that's fine. And then axes needs to be, so we're then going to do a query. So we're going to do our get trackpad stuff over here. So we're going to do new vector to temp or axes is going to be equal to a new, I don't know why I put new here, jumping the gun, new vector 2, and then we want to do trackpad horizontal and then vert. So get right trackpad horizontal does not exist in the current context because we need Vive input dot get instance dot get that, and then we can copy that over, paste that there, save it. So now we have the horizontal, the vertical component. This goes in here. If we are moving, which means we've pressed down and we're holding it down, then this stuff is happening, in which case we're updating where we're going based upon the forward and right vector of our controller, and otherwise this happens as well. Now we don't have the ability to rotate yet, which is something we're going to want to add as well. Although you could say, no, we're going to want the ability to rotate. So maybe the other controller will be rotation, and we'll add that in soon enough, I'm sure. So let's at least see if this is working. So let's go to our body really fast. And so that's our Z vector. Let's rotate our body so it actually faces this direction. So -90 on that. Hit run. Turn on the controller. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so where's my controller? So that's one of them, that's the other one. So nothing's happening. I don't know if I'm getting any null errors. I don't see anything. Oh, you know why this isn't working? Because we actually haven't attached the script to anything. Stupid me. We programmed it, we didn't attach it to anything. So we need to take character movement and attach it here, save, and hit run. All right, so now let's take a look. And still nothing. We've got our hands, but no movement. Ugh. So let's, there we go. Oh my gosh, look at all those look at all those null errors really quick. So let's, oh, we don't have Vive input in the scene. Wow, George, come on, create empty, Vive input. And let's put Vive input on there, clear that out and hit run. Lots of little mistakes, huh? Okay. So now, whoa, that's not good. So we're definitely moving it absolutely, and we're not dealing with physics, and we're moving way too fast. So we need a speed value, that's for sure, and we need to multiply it by time.delta time as well. At least we do technically have movement, it's just kind of crazy. Okay, let's stop that for a second here. And yeah, so we definitely want a speed value. So let's do float speed is equal to, so how many meters per second? 1, 2, they're kind of slow, but it depends on the character. So let's do 1.5 meters per second. Whoops. So we're gonna take that and come down here, and when we do this multiplication stuff, speed, and then we're gonna do time.delta time. So that speed turns into an amount of space to move. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and run this now. Okay, so here we are. So that's much better. A little slow, and we're not dealing with, I mean, physics works, but we don't have gravity on, which we'll want to fix. So we'll fix that soon, but we can move. Yeah, this is way too slow. So we're gonna probably triple this. So let's do that really fast. So speed, and then speed, of course, is really going to get filled in by some sort of a character trait enumeration that we'll create that will have attributes like money, health, all that kind of money, all that good kind of stuff. So let's come over here. And so we were moving, but what we weren't doing was falling down. So now I thought with a character controller, does a rigid body get created automatically? No, it does not. So let's go ahead and add a rigid body. You want gravity on. We'll do is kinematic, I believe. I can't remember. Do you use a rigid body with a character controller? Unity, character controller, gravity. Do I just add a negative 9.8 meters per second? Simple move applies gravity automatically, but you can't control the vertical movement. No fly, no jump. So I need to add gravity. So let's do that. So let's just do float const gravity is equal to constant float float gravity is going to be equal to a negative 9.8 meters per second. There we go. So we have gravity. So coming down here, all we need to do is do we can do it here. Plus gravity. So we'll do a vector3 dot up times gravity times time dot delta time. Now gravity is an acceleration force, right? So I think I need to do that twice, don't I? So time delta time. And actually, you know what? Just to make this a little more clear, let's do a vector3 gravity is equal to all this stuff right here. Now we already have a gravity, right? So that's a different gravity. So we want to do, let's just call it pull down. So what are you giving me junk for now? Oh, this. Okay, so with that, we should be ready to go. Let's go ahead and hit run. Strap on the headset, as usual. Now I have to face away from the mic, unfortunately, while I'm doing this. So let's see. So that didn't work, as you can see here. But you know why it's not working? Because gravity needs to be applied not just now, but when constantly it needs to be applied. And right now we're only doing it within update. So what we want to do is pull gravity out of this and do this out here and do a character controller.move. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a vector3 movement is equal to a new vector3. And actually, we're going to do vector3.0. So then movement now is going to be equal to this stuff in here, forward plus right. And this is going to happen out here. And this is going to be equal to pull down plus movement. So movement will be normally 0 when we're not pressing anything. Otherwise, we're going to constantly have this pull down effect occur on our object. Now, up is vertically in the world space. Gravity is a negative value, so that should negate that value. And then we have time.delta time, time.delta time. So that makes a very small value. Let's see what happens if we hit run now. Okay, so let's see. So it's not working. I am moving at an incredibly slow rate. Yeah, that's definitely not fast enough. So what am I screwing up here? Isn't it? Gravity's acceleration force, right? Negative 9.8 meters per second squared. So I should multiply by delta time twice. So gravity is a negative 9.8, right? Meters per second, 32 point something feet per second. So how come this is being such a small amount? Well, you know what? That's not right, but it's not about being right. It's about getting it done. So let's see what happens. So this should make this value much bigger. Yes, now I can't go up, but we can move around and we can get to the different areas. We're gonna want that speed to probably be a little bit higher. There's our present. Oh, come on. This is hard. And there's our elevator, which has no collider. Okay, so with that, we've got basic movement. It's really time for us now to start implementing the different kinds of functionality we want in the game, such as interacting with the different objects and making stuff actually happen. So with that, I'm going to end this video. I will see you all next time. So long and goodbye. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, remember to subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications about new videos I upload. And if you'd like to help even more, consider becoming a patron on my Patreon account. Links, as always, are in the description. See you next time. So long, goodbye.